A very, very warm welcome to a red-hot Monday night. It is, of course, In The Know, brought to you by the Racing Post and Coral on the eve of Royal Ascot 2023. And I don't think I'm exaggerated to say that last year's Royal Ascot was, quite frankly, scintillating from start to finish. Possibly the best Royal Ascot I've seen in my lifetime. I'll ask the panel about their lifetime a little bit later on. That should expand the sample group a little bit more. So hopefully 2023 will live up to that standard. And of course we kick off on Tuesday with 3 Group 1s and a Group 2. The first 4 races right off the bat are absolute crackerjacks. We've got, in theory, good to firm ground. We've got big fields for most of the races so far declared over the next couple of days as well. All we need is some winners and, of course, some viewers. And luckily you're there right now, because we are live and interactive, of course, throughout the week. We'll be here from 6:30 till 7:30 on YouTube and Facebook. And I've got the chat box right in front of me. And some of you are very, very excited indeed. And you should be, because it's going to be an absolutely corking week. My name is Ross Brierley, and as ever, I'm joined by a cracking lineup of experts. The King might be on his way to Royal Ascot, but we certainly have tipping royalty on the show for you tonight. Starting off with Mr. Paul Kealy, who I've decided to match the short sleeve energy, Keels, because the racing's hotting up, but the aircon is very much on in here.
It's freezing in here, isn't it? It's summer out there. I'm coming wearing a duffel coat tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Hopefully stuff with wads of cash after a good first day.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, speak for yourself. I had an absolute shocker at Royal Ascot last year. I was just trying to look to see what I backed. I did have dark shift in the Hunt Cup, but I can't think of anything else.
I want you to understand that I did not win. I just managed to rise above it and enjoy the quality of the racing whilst getting chinned left, right and centre.
Oh, and I can't say that. I didn't get into a right foul mood at certain times last year.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes when you're tipping and punting.
Yeah, it is. But in terms of overall quality, I mean, it is the pinnacle of the summer, isn't it? There's not a dull race.
It's brilliant. Royal Ascot is absolutely superb. Absolutely love it. And we've got, I mean, unlike the Cheltenham Festival, right? There aren't loads and loads and loads of really short price horses that you can't oppose. So it's just, every race tomorrow is a fantastic betting heat. Every race on Wednesday is a fantastic betting heat, and I'm sure it'll go on like that for the rest of the week.
Absolutely. Well, Keels will be in the studio throughout the week. At home on his throne, it's Mr. Tom Segal. Good evening to you, Tom.
I'm not on the throne, not right at the moment, no. But really, very much looking forward to Royal Ascot, Rob. I think it's going to be a fantastic 5 days. As always, like Keels, I can't remember having very many winners yet last year, unlike your good self, who clearly went through the card left, right and centre.
I really didn't, honestly. Last year, it got to the point where, I don't know if you remember last year, but I think that was the first time I suggested that you should get some sort of bookies refund if you get beaten by a horse on the other side, because I think it happened in every single race for me. It got to the point of Saturday, I was like, I just want one where they all go in one group.
Well, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. That's just the way. That's the nature of Royal Ascot punting, isn't it? Happens all the time. When you're as old as me, as you said, can you remember the last Royal Ascot that was better than last year? Or probably about 1985. Probably I preferred more, but that's a long time. You probably weren't even born back then. But,
I was one, Tom.
One. Wow. Probably, judging by the shirt you're wearing, I think you're back at that sort of age, aren't you? Eh?
Look, it's 27 degrees outside. People have been saying you've been on holiday. No, I've literally been sat in the front yard in Leeds. You would know if you.
I thought you
left
had
the
another
house.
job on children's TV and didn't have a time to get changed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sorry, I've just been doing CBeebies. So apologies for that. Do you not like a pina colada and getting caught in the rain, Tom? That's what I'm going for tonight. But no, it's going to be an absolutely cracking week, isn't it? Are you? How are you feeling about the flat season so far? I gave myself a week off pretty much last week. I took your advice, Tom, and I feel much better for it.
Yeah, I always do that. I think it's a good idea. How's it gone so far? It's been up and down. Struggling a bit in the handicaps, to be honest. Haven't had too many good winners in the handicaps, but the good races have been all right. So we'll see what happens this week. I mean, it's really tough, isn't it? So, when we all beat ourselves up when we don't have good Ascots or good Cheltenhams, but it's pretty hard. Especially, I know Kealy said there weren't many short ones. I mean, Willie Mullins has got. I thought I was in a time warp watching the two staying handicaps tomorrow.
Yeah, but they're not your 3 on shots, are they?
Sorry,
they're not your 3 on shots that we get.
They're not horses coming back from winning the race. Winning every trial going and.
They're 6-4 in a 16-runner handicap, aren't they? And 2-1 in a 20-runner handicap. They're pretty short, aren't they?
They are short enough.
They are, yeah, fair enough. They're probably shorter than these sleeves, I think. But anyway, Paul Kealy, Tom Segal, and of course, the Prince of Wales himself. I'm pretty sure that's now a vacant position, isn't it? Mr. David Stevens joining us to preview day one. How are you doing?
Good evening, Ross. Well, I've not been asked to present the trophy on Wednesday, so I'm guessing the other Prince of Wales will be doing that. The new Prince of Wales, of course. Look forward to seeing William and Kate there. But look, it's a brilliant week. I would say a job hosting CBeebies would set you up nicely to deal with the children on this show, Ross. And good to see Tom is in typically a brilliant form back home there. The great thing is getting to my age, I can't remember if last year was good or not. So if it was bad, it's wiped from the memory. It was highly unlikely to have been good anyway. We start again now. From a bookmaker's point of view, of course, it's all about Frankie Dettori. His mounts will be overbet this week, there's no question, which means value elsewhere, of course. But equally, Frankie, 6 rides tomorrow, Frankie, he could get off to an absolute flyer this week. So his last Royal Ascot, going to be a load of attention on him. He's had a brilliant season so far, 2 classics amongst his big wins. So we're slightly nervous about what Dettori might do this week. But let's kick off with a couple of price boosts. The guys have gone crazy tonight on the specials. Check them all out on the website. But a couple of price boosts we've got to start off. Modern Games, 7-4 shot in the first is 9-4, up to 20 quid for the duration of this live show. So if you're watching a repeat on Dave, don't try and get on. And in the second race, the Coventry River Tiber, likewise, 9-4 from 7-4, 20 quid for the duration of this live broadcast.
Okay, right, let's crack on then, shall we, with Royal Ascot. But first, Royal Ascot hasn't started, but you could be going to the Breeders' Cup if you win this. You could be off to the Breeders' Cup. We've got some Breeders' Cup form on the card at Ascot tomorrow, of course, including race 1, Modern Games, 15-8 favourite for the Queen Anne Stakes. The first Group 1 of the week, the traditional curtain raiser in the mile division, which over the past few years, of course, has been a little bit up and down. We've had weak years. We've had one incredibly dominant horse, of course, and it suddenly becomes a little bit more open with Baid stepping aside. And that Lockinge form getting a bit of a test with Modern Games at 15-8. Inspiral coming off the back of a break, which worked wonders at last year's Royal Ascot, is 2-1. Native Trail is in there at 7-1. Chindid at 12s. Muta Sarbek at 16s. Light Infantry at 18s. Lusail at 18s. Cash is in there at 20-1, and it is bigger prices than the rest. But plenty of horses in here who've got form tied in with those who are much shorter prices. Of course, like I said, that Lockage form is going to get a right old test here, and it is likely to be good to firm ground. Spoke to Ken Pitterson earlier on, who's walked the track at Royal Ascot about an hour ago, and he says it's good to firm and pretty much even across the board from either side to the middle as well. So fingers crossed that everything should be pretty much fair enough. But we've got to start off with an angle into this Queen Anne. It's often a cracking race, Keels, but it's a very, very difficult race every year to find an angle in because the mile division is a little bit funny. But you've got two horses taking a hell of a lot of that at the market. Is there anything that
they are taking? They are taking a lot out of the market. I think we either do get a really, really, really good horse that goes off incredibly short and wins, or a more open race. Now, and this is one of the latter. I'm certainly not going to argue that Inspiral and Modern Games are the most likely winners. Modern Games looked good in the Lock-Inch. I think a few of his main rivals sort of disappointed that day. He had a couple of outsiders to beat. But, he keeps running his race most of the time. He was below par in America first time out this year because he was never travelling then. And Inspiral's got that one run in the Coronation Stakes last year, which he looked like an absolute superstar, but she never repeated it.
Yeah.
She got beat at odds of 1-6. She scrambled home from Light Infantry, who is 10 times her price. And then, of course, she flopped out of the stalls and didn't seem to want to know in the QE2. So, the standard they set, I mean, they rated 121 and 120. That's not superstar form. Native Trail, for instance, is rated 119. He's a three-time Group 1 winner who won an Irish Guineas very easily last year, nearly won an Eclipse.
Well, I mean, the 100 to 1 outsider is Pogo, and he's only £5 inferior.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, it's probably more open than the markets. Yes, I have backed two. I backed Native Trail. I think he'll come on for his run at Newmarket last time when Mutasabek just got an easy lead and he couldn't get to him, couldn't pick up. And I have backed Light Infantry, who I also backed in the Lock-Inch after I thought he was quite eye-catching just behind Native Trail first time up, but he ran no sort of race there. He was, I don't know whether he went not fast enough or too slow for him. He found the mile there not quite stiff enough, perhaps. I mean, his final furlong was second only to Modern Games' final furlong, but he obviously was a fair way off the pace. But I think he wants a stiff mile. It was a mile and one in the Prix d'Ispahan last time, and he just got touched off by Anne Matt. And obviously a finisher ridden by Jamie Spencer on the straight track at Ascot at 20 to 1. I'm quite happy with a tiny little each way bet on that thing.
Yard in form as well, aren't they? David Sincock quietly knocking in winners.
Going along quite nicely, yeah.
Yeah, he had a 1-2 the other day, didn't he?
Yeah, probably better than he was actually at the time when Light Infantry didn't run so well in the Lock-Inch.
Okay, Light Infantry is an 18 to 1 shot here. Modern Games heading in there after that Lock-Inch win. Inspired, a few stats for you to batter away, Tom, as I pass them to you. But 9 horses have come straight from the QE2 without a run, and only Cape Cross has won it. And the last British or Irish horse to win this without course winning form was Declaration of War 10 years ago. So you've got a break for Inspiral. Modern Games does have a good run at the track on his card, but he's up against quite a few horses with half-decent Ascot form here. Are there any chinks in the armour at the front too?
No, not for me. Obviously, Inspiral, we don't know where she's at in her preparation, but I think the vibes are really strong about her. I think the top three are a bit ahead of the rest myself. I like Group 1 form. I've always have liked Group 1 form, funnily enough, in Group 1 races. The three of them win Group 1s, the others don't. They've had plenty of goes, the others, they haven't been able to do it. Obviously, they're priced up as you would expect. I'm at the prices now. I think I will probably end up backing Native Trail, just simply because I think he's too big a price. But I'm a massive Modern Games fan. Always have been. I just think he's underrated. He's won 5 Group 1s, is it? I thought he was a bit unlucky when he was second to Vaid in the Sussex Stakes on ground that he wouldn't have liked last year. I just think every time he runs, people want to take him on. I just really like him. I think he's top class. Inspiral on her coronation form would probably win it. But if she's there, if she's at that level, then I think those two stand out along with Nature Trail above the rest. You can make cases for, like Keel says, Light Infantry and Chindit and Cash and all those ones. And if the race falls apart like it has done in the past, then they could easily pick up the pieces, especially with Jamie Spencer on Light Infantry. I could see him hitting the frame for sure, but I think the other three are class apart. At the prices, I'd go for Native Trail, but I'm a massive Modern Games fan and I want him to win. Yeah,
he's 15 to 8. Yeah, he's an echo of Queen Anne's gone by, Tom. You're a Montes and you refuse to bends and whatnot. I mean, it seems a long time ago now, but Godolphin used to be your go-to gang for Group 1 milers.
Well, they used to be. I mean, they're back there now, aren't they, with Charlie Appleby? You know, Caribus and Native Trail, and they didn't win the Guineas this year, but Morge Godolphin won the 1,000 Guineas, so they're still there. I just think Modern Games is a class act. I love his turn of foot. I love the way he moves. I like a lot about him. I think he's the one to beat. Sparrow can beat him if she's at the level we saw last year. And Native Trail is obviously a very good horse too, but he was a breeze-up horse, remember. He's had a tough wind operation. He's been on the go a long time. I wonder whether we might have seen the best of him. But nevertheless, 7-1, he's got the form for me. So he'd be my one at the price, but I really want Modern Games to win.
Okay, 15-8 then, Modern Games here, David. Yeah, the fairly top-heavy Queen Anne here. There's loads of horses who've tried to beat these horses and have run quite well. Chindit ran a cracker last time out. Berkshire Shadow could be a little bit interesting. This track should suit him, but yeah, Modern Games does pretty much have the beating of most of these on the lock-inch form. Any extra places, any angles, any offers? What do you got?
Just the 3 places each way in this opener. I mean, Tom said all about Modern Games. A regular Group 1 winner, 2 runs this season, second and first. Beat plenty of these in the lock-inch. Mutasabek was obviously beat Native Trail, then didn't run his race in the lock-inch. Now, he never wins big field races, Mutasabek, but he could run into a place. Chindit could run into a place given that lock-inch form. There's been good support for Inspiro this week that suggests she is well, but been a year since she ran a good race. And I'm with Tom. I just think Modern Games is a class act who keeps winning, and he's perhaps not a sexy horse, just doesn't get the credit he deserves. But we've got a special here. Godolphin, obviously 2 major chances. 11-10 and a Godolphin win is now out to 11-8. So you get Modern Games and Native Trail with that special.
Okay, 11-8 out from 11-10. Quick shout out for people at home. Wasim Akbal says Native Trail more likely winner. Berkshire Shadow says Dan Walsh. Good evening, Dan. Berkshire Shadow to fulfil his Group 1 destiny. And Stevens99 says for most of the lock-inch, Modern Games look beat. But if anything, I think that makes me fancy him more because he will be finishing up that stiff finish at Ascot. I think if you can finish like that at Newbury, then that's a real feather in your cap for an Ascot horse. But I think the favourite's going to take some beating here. But you've played.
Yeah, I've had a little bit on light infantry each way and Native Trail anti-post. Yeah.
Okay, lovely stuff. And you're all aboard the Godolphin train. You'll be all over that price boost then, Tom.
Yeah, and was it 9-4 as well for the? I can't get on during the course of this.
Of course, no one's watching.
Yeah, so that's the advantage of being at home, isn't it? Yeah, you just open another tab, don't you?
Exactly.
Okay, and David, what about you?
Yeah, Modern Games, very, very sweet.
Okay, lovely stuff. Right then, moving on to the Coventry Stakes. 6 furlongs, Group 2. 22 of them are here lining up for this year's at Coventry. But again, a very top-heavy market. River Tiber is 7-4 favourite. Asadnar is 3-1. 7-2, Gimme the Beat Boys. And then a big jump out to 16-1. Bucanera Fuerte, Army Ethos, Chief Mankato and Fandom is 18-1. Bobsleigh at 20s after that Epsom win, of course, are the horses to throw in there. Richard Farr, he's got a nice one in Emperor's Son. Hartem was unlucky at Epsom as well. Cuban Thunder, of course, one of the first of many ammo racing runners, and Jane Chapel High has got a couple of nice 2-year-olds, including Flag of St George in this race as well. But Tom, the market has gone gaga. I was going to say for 2 horses, but give me the Beat Boys, keep shortening and shortening. Every time I look at this market, Jessica Harrington's runner gets shorter. And again, it probably is the Dettori factor to a certain extent. But most of the talk has been about River Tiber and his turn of foot, particularly on his debut. And Asadnar winning by 12 lengths at a top-class track like Ripon.
Yeah, Al Ali, didn't he? He won that. He was beaten at Ripon and came out and won the Norfolk. I love this. Isn't it great? It's the Time Boys, the arrogant Time Boys versus the clever, the all too smart Visual Boys. The River Tiber mob who keep telling me that he's the greatest thing since Aiden's horse, and the Time Boys is the fastest 2-year-old they've ever seen. It's great, isn't it? One of them's going to look foolish, but although they're drawn on different sides, so who knows which one will come out on top. I thought they were both really impressive. You can't, to win any maiden by, I think River Tiber one is by 10, didn't he? And Asadna one is by 12. What I would say is the River Tiber's trained by Aidan O'Brien and is beautifully bred by, and Asadna's, wasn't that expensive a breed up horse as they go these days. It's by Memas, but I preferred Asadna myself. I just thought that drawn on 17 this side, I just think he might be a bit too sharp for River Tiber this time up. I thought earlier in the week, as I was expecting him to be 6-4. That was going to be the other way around, but it's not now. Don't fancy Give Me the Beat Boys at all. I don't know where that's come from. And the other one I would throw in there would be, there was two. Chief Manicato, I thought was impressive on his debut. And Bucanero Fuerte for the Slattery, Mr. Slattery, Andrew Slattery, who won the first race of the season, didn't he?
Adrian Murray, Tom, just to...
Adrian Murray. I keep getting them mixed up. I get them mixed up all the time. It's crazy. I'm getting old. Who won the first 2-year-old race of the season, but he's really impressive and he's really well bred. He's a full brother to Wooded, who won the Abbey. He's a properly well bred horse. So that normally when they win the first race of the season, you think they're just sort of a get it ready 2-year-old, but this one's not. He's a proper good looking son of Wootton Bassett. I think him at 16-1 was going to be my selection, but I'm a little bit worried that he missed the Give Me the Beat Boys race because he was coughing. So I think Asadna might win this. I just thought he was really impressive at Ripon, and I think there's plenty more to come. And I think he might be just more ready for the race now than River Tigris.
Okay, River Tigris 7-4, then Asadna at 3-1. Yeah, has been a lot of talk about Ripon horse, but even Keels, that race alone at Ripon that Asadna won. Top score, De Bruyne horse, Misty Grey, Ever Given, and Should Have Been a Ring. Just 5 of the last 8 winners. All group horses in that time. So
you can
good
get
trainers,
very
same
good horses at
there.
any track. Like, Brown's introduced a load of good horses at Tipperary and the like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It does happen. Yeah, and he clearly was good. I mean, I'm not an expert on times, but I mean, I do respect the people that are, and everyone tells me how great it was. I think, and Race Post ratings, I think it's the highest rating we've ever given the first time out 2-year-old. It was like 106, I think it was. But I had a look back. I'm always a bit suspicious about a horse runs really, really big first time at 2, and I had a look back. There's only been 9 2-year-olds run to 100 or higher on the race form, my race form interactive since 2010, first time out. And look, 5 of them won next time, 4 of them got beat. Only 3 of them ran in group company next time, and they all got beat.
Was Bradsell not one of them last year?
Bradsell, yeah.
He didn't run to 100 first time out, did he?
Yeah, he did 100 on. Yeah, he did 100 on debut last year.
Are you sure?
I'm absolutely positive.
Well, I've got that up then, haven't I? Okay, one of them won. I'm sure it wasn't, but there you go. Yeah. Okay, I tell you what it is. Race form ratings are slightly different.
Right.
Yeah,
right. They are slightly different, so it's probably come out there. So what a worthless stat that was, anyway. But I do get a little bit suspicious because I just think they've been, really, really got ready first time, and is how much more are they going to come on? Because it doesn't matter actually what they did first time up at 2. They still got to do more second time to win a race like the Coventry.
I think the thing is as well these days is 10, 15 years ago, this horse would have been still slightly under the radar because they'd have gone mad for all the listed and the group form and the top trainers and stuff. So it's not even that you can be suspicious. It's the do you want to back it at 3s? That's the question,
exactly.
isn't
I mean, he was 16-1 straight after the race.
Yeah,
and. For those who know about times, they were able to get on, weren't they? So, fair play. I'd love a bit of 16s, that's for sure. Would I back him at 3s? No. Would I back River Tigris at 15-8? No. I think he'll probably win. I think he's definitely going to improve for another furlong. Mm-hmm. And like Tom, I did like Bucanero Fuerte. I did think he was quite impressive. His other brother is Beat Le Bon. Now, he's a brother to Wooded, who won an Abbey on bottomless ground, and obviously his win came on bottomless ground, but Beat Le Bon couldn't have it fast enough. Yeah. Trainer says he wants a bit of rain. No, that might be a slight worry. There is, some websites forecasting up to 10 mil in the morning, so if we get the sting taken out of it, he could be an interesting each way horse.
Just a quick word for Flag of St George as well, I think, just because I'm interested. The other Jane Chapel-Hyam horse in the Queen Mary's been smashed off the boards, but I quite like the way this horse won at Newmarket last time. It seemed like he didn't really want Newmarket. He got outpaced at a crucial point, came home really well. I'm quite interested. Jane Chapel-Hyam had a cracking year at Royal Ascot last year. She doesn't have that many, Tom, but she knows how good they are.
Yeah. I mean, like you, but you can. That's the thing about the Coventry, isn't it? You can go through all of them and be quite impressed with them. I liked him very much. Flag of St George. It's not. I think this is a really good race. Yeah. I mean, I think Asadna is, on the figures, he's right up there, and River Tigris, he's just looks like one of those Aidan O'Brien horses that will come and run a massive race, and so it's hard to find one. I mean, you could definitely make a case for bobsleigh on the figures, couldn't you? Having come home really strongly in the Woodcote, and the horse that finished behind him that was favourite that day, Hartem, was it, of Richard Hannins, that missed the break by about 5 lengths. You could see them running one at the prices as well. But I just think the two at the top. I think Asadna might be the now horse, and I think River Tiber is going to be a really, really good horse. It's just whether it sounds boring. I was on the Fabs in the first race, and I'll be on the Fabs again here, but I think that they might dominate itself.
It does tend to be how day one goes a little bit, though, doesn't it, David? You don't get too many huge shocks on day one of Royal Ascot too often. It does tend to get more difficult as the week goes by.
Yeah, but the interesting thing actually is what Kills there said about the weather forecast. So I just did a double check as well. There's quite a lot of rain about on some of these. So I mean, it's a typical conversation we have on this show is how much rain we're going to get, but not sure. I mean, River Tiber and Asadna, neither should mind if there's a little bit of juice in it. Asadna, as Kill said, we put in almost a 16-1, not dismissive after he won, but I mean that disappeared very quickly. And at one point he was favourite. They've only sort of flip-flopped back in the last couple of days. I mean, Aidan O'Brien's won the race 9 times. Clearly, he sends good 2-year-olds to this. Give Me the Beat Boys is the one that, again, has shortened really ever since the booking of Frankie Dettori. I had a look back at him. When he has won a Group 3, he's 2 from 2. So there is a bit of substance. It's not just about Dettori. But 4 places each way in this. I would take a chance on Army Ethos for last year's winning trainer, obviously, with Bradshaw. Form of his air win, nothing special, a couple of runs, and really done a great deal for it. But he won it well enough, and he was well back that day, suggesting that it wasn't a surprise. Holly Doyle has said they've always thought a lot of this horse. So 16-1 each way against this one. But just a reminder of that price boost for the favourite River Tiber, 9-4 until the end of this live broadcast.
Okay, lovely stuff. River Tiber then to win the Coventry 94 out from 7-4. As for people, River Tiber 10-1 anti-post bet of the week for Darren Walker. Yeah, well, feel free to share that around, Darren. If you
we'll have some.
We'll have some of that. We'll have some of that 16 to Sadler as well, if anyone wants it. And as for the rest, River was 11.08. It might end up 2-1 joint favs on this. And what else have we got? Anyone else? Bobsleigh each way for a few. Yeah, of course. Although there is potential that he wants a downhill track, but. Yeah, dearie me. But anyway, and a few people saying Packard is printing money. Anyway, what have you got, Keels, for the Coventry?
No, not a few people, Ross. You say it.
Yeah, me and my mate Hewlett. I tell you what, we are all over him.
Well, I think River Tiber will probably win. It's not a race I have a great interest in betting in. I might have a couple of quid on Buccaneer Fuerte each way. The massive drifter of the race will be the Dettori horse. Some of the prices about Dettori's horses tomorrow are a complete nonsense and will bear no resemblance to what they actually do go off at. It's bookies running scared overnight. Some of them are completely ridiculous. That is probably one of them. We don't know how good it is, but there's no chance whatsoever of it being anywhere near the other two in the market by the time they go off.
So a little SP accumulator potentially then, if you could have back up. But okay, Tom.
Yeah, I'll go for Asadna, but that. 7-2 is a ridiculous price. But Buena Fete, if there is rain, and I live not far away and we haven't had a drop forever, seems like. But if there is rain and there is forecast, then I think he'd come into it, definitely.
Okay, lovely stuff. The next race at Ascot tomorrow then is the King Stand Stakes, and of course we've got 19 of them, and we've got some absolute crackerjack horses lining up, including Highfield Princess, of course, who had such a wonderful season last year. She could barely put a foot wrong, and to be fair, she barely put a foot wrong on that reappearance as well, getting beaten in the shadows of the post by a Michael Dodds improver and giving the field way. It was a huge run for this, and John Quinn's got a very special campaign mapped out for her. She's 9-4 for the King's Stand though. She's obviously got Ascot winning form over 7 furlongs, and she's got Group 1 winning form over 5 and 6. This is a slightly different test for her. Coolangatta is 4-1. Manakad is 5-1. Dramatise is 15-2. Mitbahi 12-1. Twilight Calls 14s. Cannonball is 16-1. And Twilight Gleaming is 25s. And then bigger prices the rest. And again, loads of horses in here. Brad Selly, we mentioned when the Coventry's back here. Marshman, who looked so good last year as well. And other horses like Vadream. If it rains, Vadream will be in with a chance in this. But it's very rare, Keels, that you get a favourite in a Group 1 where both head and heart seem to agree.
Yeah,
I think High
absolutely.
Field
I
Princess
mean,
is
I
that.
have to warn people I have a terrible record when I go for favourites, but I mean, she should be the shortest priced horse running tomorrow.
Okay.
Absolutely convinced about that. She was so good last summer. I mean, Tom latched onto her far earlier than I did. In fact, I never actually latched onto her at all, but until now. But anyway, the price is just wrong. She won 3 Group 1s on the spin last season very easily, from 6.5 furlong to 5 furlong, from soft ground to good to firm. She ran to an RPR of 125 when she won the Nunthorpe. I'll put that into context. The Colts and Gelders have to give her £3. So, if she runs the same again, they've got to run to 128, 129 to have a chance of beating her. Only 2 horses since 2010 have run to 129 in Britain over 5 furlongs. Battash and Nature Strip. You see a Battash or a Nature Strip in there? Absolutely no chance whatsoever. So I don't think. I get the impression that the Aussie horses this time are nowhere near as good as Nature Strip.
It's also big ass, isn't it? Three-year-olds as well in this kind of race. It's
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it's she's like 3.5, what I mean?
Yeah.
Because not quite 4, but off level weights as well, of course. So I can't have them at all. I just think she'll win. And I do think it's that simple. She ran an absolute blinder at York again when second to Azure Brew under a big penalty.
There was a second when you thought, my God, she's gonna batter these.
Yeah.
And she just got done by Azure Blue, who could end up being one of those classic
Then
dots.
she just got a little bit tired. I mean, she's a Royal Ascot winner as well. Won at Buckingham Palace a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
No problem with trip. No problem with going. Whatever happens, she should be shorter than she is. I'm sure she should.
She's in box 10 as well, which means they can pick and choose depending on how it goes. So, a lot to like about High Field Princess. She's 9-4. There are other horses who've been quite well backed, interesting horses out of interesting races. I did think Monacan and Twilight Calls were obviously pretty inconvenienced at Newmarket, but Monacan's been found. Twilight Calls hasn't, though. I think because he got beaten last time out as well, Tom, but I think he was inconvenienced by his track position again. So I thought that if he runs to the second behind Nature Strip last year, he shouldn't be affording to one shot. But are you in the High Field Princess camp as well?
Well, I'm a massive fan, as you probably well know. Yeah, I hope she wins.
No, you don't, because you tipped Monacan at 20-1 anti-post.
His heart hopes she wins, definitely. And also,
my bank balance says I hope Monacan wins. He's too short now, though. He's one of the Frank. I don't think he's as bad as Give Me the Beat Boys, whatever it's called. But I think 5-1's plenty short enough now, considering he's won a listed race, isn't he? Oh, he's won a Group 3 on the all-weather, but he's got a bit to find. I mean, he's right in there with the rest of them, but I mean, on Racing Post ratings, High Field Princess is £9 clear. I mean, that's you don't see that very often in Group 1 races, because horses have been able to get good fit. I mean, there's lots of horses that run lots of times here, and she's £9 clear. So I get entirely where Keels is coming from. And if you compare her price to the price of the Littori horse in the race before, I mean, it's chalk and cheese, isn't it? She's probably too short, and he's probably just ridiculous price. I mean, which one would you rather back? But I like Monacan. I don't want lots of brain. I really don't, because I think he's better on first ground. I do like the fact that he's drawn right next to her, which I think will give Frankie a sort of a target to aim at, because she's so quick and he'll give us something. But whether he can get past, I don't know. I think he's going to run well, Monacan. Whether I back him again at 5-1, I'm not sure. Paul Nagata's quite interesting too. She looked pretty good when she won the Everest, was it called, or whatever it's called? Not the Everest, the Lightning. And but I think pricing her up like she's Nature Strip or all the other ones, I forgot my names now, but all the other Aussies that have won, Scenic Blast and all those ones, and at the moment she's not as good as them. Surely that's what Racing Post ratings and all world ratings tell you that. Mick Vahi was quite interesting when he was 33-1. I think 12-1's ridiculously short now. The other one I would throw in there at a bigger price would be the other Aussie that's sort of gone under the radar, the Cannonball Run. He's drawn on this. I wonder if he might get away from him on this side. He's very fast horse. And if there is a high draw bias, which has been the case occasionally at this meeting, not often happened in this race, to be fair, but it has happened in the past, then Cannonball Run from, I think it's 15 or 16, could run well at a price. But I think my bank balance says Monacan. I hope High Field Princess wins.
Okay, there you go. It is wallet versus heart then for Tom in the King's Stand. What about you, David? Are you a Highfield Princess fan? I mean, it's hard not to be a Highfield Princess fan, isn't it? But what did you make of this year's renewal of the 5 furlong feature?
Yeah, massive fan of Highfield Princess. Actually, on the subject of John Quinn, we have a Coral Racing Club horse with John, so we were lucky enough to do some filming of the Coral horse and also with Highfield Princess. You can check that out after this show, of course, on our YouTube page. There's a lovely feature on Highfield Princess. She's a classic example of benefiting from the Dettori factor and also the respect we've given to Coolangatta here. The Aussie filly, very short, or short enough, it would seem, and Manican certainly short because of Frankie. And that means the Highfield Princess is probably far too big at 9-4. She ran a good race at York to finish second. I think that will turn out to be very strong form. 5 furlongs is her trip. It's funny, I looked at this yesterday and thought this was a really competitive day's racing. It's a third favourite in a row I fancy quite a lot. 4 places each way in this, though. And if you do fancy the Aussies, and Tom also mentioned Cannonball there, an Aussie winner of this King's Stand was 9-4, is now 11-4. But it's Highfield Princess for me.
Okay, Highfield Princess then at 9-4. How many places were we, sorry, David, in this?
4 places in this one.
Okay, lovely stuff. Yeah, I do think Twilight Calls. I think Twilight Calls has been ignored because of those two runs. But I think this course and distance and a fast run 5 from box 16 with Ryan Moore back in the saddle is spot on. So I'll take him at 14-1 each way. Keels.
What race are we on?
The King's Stand, mate.
Highfield Princess wins. Sorry, I was having a further study up.
That's all right. There's a lot going on. So you're probably on Friday afternoon by now, aren't you? So, King's Stand, Tom. It's wallet versus heart for you.
Yeah. Well, I've backed Manican, so I'll stick.
Okay, the Highfield Princess for David, and I'll go for Twilight Calls at 14-1. More Group 1 action then on the way here for the next race, the 420, the St James's Palace Stakes, the 3-year-olds, and we've got a proper clash of the classics here, which is exactly what you want to see in this race. It doesn't always happen, but we've got the British 2,000 guineas, of course, versus the Irish 2,000 guineas. Chaldean is 2-1. Paddington is 9-4. Cicero's Gift is 5-1. Mustabshire is 8-1. Isaac Shelby at 9-1. 12-1 Royal Scotsman. Gala on 33s. Charin is 50s, and you've also got Indestructible in there as well, who could have a bit of a squeak on his previous win. But it's guineas versus guineas here, and like I said, quite an interesting clash between these two for various reasons. Of course, connections. We've got the Frankie factor as well. We've got the draw starting to come into it on this round track as well, Tom, because I think I'm trying to think of things I'd less rather do than back a 2-1 favourite drawn 1 on the round track at Ascot, because it can be a painful place on that inside rail. I know you personally tend to ignore that and just go for the best horse, but at 2-1, even with Frankie in the saddle, I can almost envision a bit of a nightmare down that rail.
Or isn't he just going to make the run in, Ross? I just thought he'd make the run in.
That is possible, yeah. Unless Isaac Shelby's up there as well, maybe. It depends how Indestructible's ridden. I don't know. Yeah, it is possible that Frankie could do that. And of course, the one time this has been won from that draw was Frankie on Circus Maximus.
Yeah, I think he'll make the running. I don't see the draw being an issue for him. I think it's probably a good draw for Chaldean. If it was Paddington in there, I'd be absolutely mortified that he had still won. He missed the break last time and would get behind. So I think for Chaldean, it's not a problem. He's very straightforward. He's just such an underrated good horse, and he does everything right. I don't think he's a superstar horse by any stretch of the imagination, but he wins all the time. He wins good races all the time, and still no one wants to rate him. So while I'm a big fan of Chaldean, but I think there are others in there that could get to his level. I don't think his level is unattainable, that's for sure. Paddington's obviously won, but I'm a little bit wishy-washy about. I think he'll be better over further. I think he'll be better over 10 furlongs. It might still be good enough to win this, but I thought you could take both of them on. Cicero's Gift is becoming a more sensible price. He was ridiculously short price in the week. He's about 3-1 when the others were. Where
did that come from, Tom? Was it the talk? There was no part of me thought, is there a reason? I thought the front two not going to run. Like, why was he so short?
I have no idea. I think he became a wise guy's horse, didn't he, for a bit? You know, everyone was talking about him, the run at Goodwood and how good he looked, and Charlie Hills was talking him up and everything, and all of a sudden he was, before anyone knew it, he was like 3-1. He's back out to a more sensible price now. I still think he's too short. I don't think he's done anything more than Moz Stabshire, for example, who I think is a much better horse than him in my opinion. So I think it's more open than the market says. I mean, I'm picking my colours on Moz Stabshire because I was so impressed with him at York last time. I think he's got exactly the same profile as Soul Sister, isn't he? He won his maiden, then he went into a trial, a Guineas trial on soft ground and blew out. Came out to York and won by absolute miles. She went on and won the Oaks. Now, I'm not sure that was a great Oaks. I think this is a bigger task, but he was incredibly impressive. He was giving £6 away to all those horses, and he won by 6. It's quite hard to do anywhere. And so I just like Gosden in this race without Parole. Palace Pier came here on a similar profiles. So I could see him going well at a price, but I do think Royal Scotsman and Galeron at bigger prices have chance too. I've been in Royal Scotsman's camp ever now, seems to be, and I'm deserting him tomorrow, and he'll probably go and win because he hasn't done me any favours so far after the Dewhurst and the Guineas. I just have it in the back of my mind that he's not going to get the trip. That's what I have against him. He just pulls too hard. Didn't think he quite got home in Newmarket. Now the ground was wrong. This ground will help him. If he gets home, I think he's the overpriced one in the race. I'm just slightly worried about that. And Galeron is just. I just think he's underrated. I thought it was.
I mean, you were talking about early versus speed figures and visual replays and whatnot. If you watch both his runs back, like he's had. I mean, you talk about bad looking. Some horses make their own look, Tom, but he's had an absolute nightmare in both Guineas.
He's had a total nightmare in both Guineas, and it was impossible to come where he came from in the Irish one, especially under the ground conditions that were on the far rail past that day. But he flew home. Just think he might be one of those horses. And that's what puts me. I mean, I will have a few quid on him, definitely, each way, if all 9 or whatever turn up. Definitely have a few quid on him. I just don't see him. The win option might be out of the window a little bit, because I just think he might be one of those horses that gets in behind and doesn't, and always does that. But he's got Jimmy Mack on. Jimmy back, where are you? When are you coming back? He's back! Greatest jockey in the world. He's back. Great to see Jimmy Mack back. So he's got the big advantage of having him. So I'm a massive fan of Galeron, but I'm on Moz Stabshire tomorrow. But I think you could make a case for a lot in this race. I think it's wide open, and the price is probably too short at the top of the market.
Yeah, albeit I said this about this race last year, of course, and Caribus won it, and there's about 5 horses in behind who were unlucky. So it does tend to happen sometimes. You think, well, he could win it, and then the horse with Group 1 form goes and wins it, as he said. Of course, not only those two, Isaac Shelby, we haven't mentioned him.
Well, again, he shouldn't have won it, should he?
No.
Caribus last year.
No,
that's the thing. You get, you get great rides, you get unlucky rides, you get bad rides, you get lots of trouble at Royal Ascot, at any time on the round course when there's a certain number of runners. So, you have to build that in. It's sometimes the wrong horse wins. Yeah, and I think that was the case last year, and it could well be the case tomorrow. I agree wholeheartedly with Tom. You can see either Chaldean or Paddington winning, but at the end of the day, it's more open than that. And the two I like were the two we mentioned as well. Moz Stabshire. Now he is not going to want the rain because obviously he didn't like it at Newmarket. I don't think they'll have to get the real thick end of it to make a difference. I think because it's still warm. It's supposed to finish a couple of hours before racing as well, and you know how quickly Ascot dries out. So with a bit of luck, it'll be quick enough for him. That won't suit Cicero's Gift, who is said to need soft ground. He's a terrible price. But I just love Royal Scotsman. It's just the wrong price. If he hadn't run in Ireland, he'd be third favourite. He'd be 4-1. Yeah. He was 6-4 favourite, remember, for that Guineas on the strength of that really eye-catching run when, yes, he was too keen, yes, he was on the wrong side, yes, it was soft ground. But he's got good form with Chaldean from last year, and he just got touched off from his closing on him in the Dewhurst. And he did bounce back from a bad run last year. Now, Paul Kohler said he picked up a bruised foot. And he also says he's in tip-top form here. He'll run a big, big race. He's a very, very good horse. They've got serious faith in him. And I think he's worth another try. 12-1, I think is just pretty daft.
There is. I kind of agree with Tom in the sense that I almost feel by the end of the season
he might be back in trip. He might well be back in trip. Yeah. I could easily see that. I think he could easily come back in trip. But
if there was a genuine 7 furlong campaign for these horses,
I think he's worth. I still think he's worth another chance at a mile on quick ground though.
Yeah. but maybe put it back in running at a short price if he gets outstayed.
Don't tell me about that. I had a horse got beat at 102 on Saturday. I never put a penny in.
Oh, there you go. You got maybe 101 to make it a little bit better tomorrow. But Chowdy at 2-1, Paddington 9-4, Cicero's Gift is 5-1, Mossabshire is 8-1. I do get the feeling, David, this is actually one of the races where I get the feeling everyone's going to have a different opinion. Everyone on the chat seems to have a different opinion, pundits, and there'll be some people again who'll put. Say the English Guineas was the best. Some people will say, well, Paddington bolted up in the Irish Guineas. Some people will say he was well positioned, it was slowly run. There's loads of opinions flying around for this race.
It's loads of opinion, and it's a brilliant racing prospect. I mean, 2 Guineas winners at the head of the betting. I don't know what more Chowdine has to do. He's a champion 2-year-old, won the Juho. He's come out and won the Guineas. He's a straightforward horse. He can make all from one. I think he's a worthy favourite. I think he's the one they've got to beat. And as a result, the other one I like is Royal Scotsman. No surprise, they're closely matched on that Dewhurst form. As Kills have just read out there, the confidence is back amongst the Paul Cole Yard. Now, they had the option of the Jersey for this, of course, but they think he's a Group 1 horse. They want to try and win a Group 1 over a mile with him. He could drop back later. He could get the mile well enough. 12-1, I thought he was an each-way play. But, I mean, look, Colour of Unexposed horse, Mossabshire, obviously ridden by Jim Crowley. He writes the blog. Jim wasn't on him at York. He made the wrong choice that day. Clearly, he's on him this time around. He's unexposed. Cicero's Gift is unexposed, but as everyone said, was a crazy price on what he's achieved up against 2 classic winners. But Chowdine's never done me wrong yet. I'll have to stick with him and Royal Scotsman for the forecast.
Okay, there you go. Plenty of St James's Palace opinions, including at home as well. Lots of them. On what form is Chowdine clear, says JL. But plenty of people saying, in fact, Coach, for example, anyone bet with their eyes here? Chowdine literally dossing in front of a field with Little Bear, Big Bear and Auguste Rodin behind. And Scotsman was way too keen. So there's loads of opinion. And Doghouse Riley, Mossabshire beat nothing at York. He's got absolutely no chance, says Doghouse Riley. But Tom Segal disagrees. Tom, you're going with Mossabshire?
Doghouse, you'll be in the doghouse if you carry on like that. Yeah, Mossabshire for me.
There you go. It's the most fatherly I've ever seen, Tom. Keels?
Yeah, well, Royal Scotsman, I can't get away from him at that price.
Okay. And David?
Chowdine Royal Scotsman forecast.
Okay, well, there you go. Fair enough. Let's keep it simple like that then. Yeah, part of me does think Galeron's going to find trouble again, but I'm a little play on him and Indestructible. I'm not entirely sure why he's such a big price. Maybe the fast ground, but if the rain does take the sting out of it, he's got a little bit of a squeak on that defeat of the Foxes. Anyway, 3 more races to come. We've got a couple of handicaps and a listed contest at big fields and short prices to be fair, including Bring on the Night. Before this show, David Jennings said he thought this horse was a good thing. Willie Mullins and Ryan Moore, 2.5 miles. What month is it? Bring on the Night, 2-1. A Horse with No Name, 7-1. Law of the Sea, 11-1. Zinc White is 12-1. Calling the Wind, 12s. Novel Legend, 12s. Western 14s. Irish Lullaby 14s. And bigger prices the rest. Of course, last time we saw Bring on the Night, he was beaten by Coltrane, who's got a slightly tougher assignment this year.
Yeah, well, a slightly tougher assignment, but he's actually favourite for it.
Yep.
Coltrane is £19 higher, I think he is now, than he was when he only just beat Bring on the Night. So, yes, you can understand exactly why he's 2-1. There's no worries whatsoever with Willie Mullins bringing a horse back from a year off, because he just makes a habit of doing that sort of thing over jumps and on the flat. He's an absolutely worthy favourite. You cannot, the reasons for taking him on is simply it's a 20-runner race around the bends at Ascot. You know what I mean? And he nearly did it last year. I have taken him on just because I can't bring myself to back horses at that sort of price and in those sort of fields at Ascot. And I do think each way that Calling the Wind is a bit of a daft price, because you get in extra prices. He's got terrific Ascot form. Form figures 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. He's been second and third in the last 2 runners, the Queen Alexandra. Level weights race of horses rated higher than him. He's now £5 lower than he was when he ran in the Queen Alexandra. He's down to 99. Got Billy Loughnane booked for him to take another £3 off. He's well handicapped. He can go on most grounds. He will be quite happy if there is a bit of rain, I think. But I mean, it was good to Ferb last year when he was third at Stratum. And he had horses rated, well over 100 behind him that day. He just loves Ascot. Simple as that.
I mean, it's very rare that you make such a strong case for a handicap, and I'm already echoing that case in my head, because I think he's got a cracking chance, hasn't he? Richard Hughes has hit form as well. He's in great form. That Chester Cup looks a really, really good renewal. He's never been out the frame at Ascot. 13's a reasonable draw. He's got £3 off with one of the best up-and-coming jockeys, like you said. He's going to run. If Bring on the Night wasn't 2-1 in this race, he should have been challenging for sort of second favourite, I think.
Yeah, and we've got minimum 5 places on offer in the marketplace tomorrow as well. It's a no-brainer bet at double figures.
Okay, myself and Keels strongly agreeing on one, Tom, which doesn't happen very often, mainly because I just like to pull his leg half the time. But I think Calling the Wind's got a cracking chance here.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, the only thing I've got against him is that I backed him in the Chester Cup last time, and he got Jamie Spencer, didn't he? I mean, it wasn't his fault. It wasn't Jamie's fault at all. I'm his massive fan, but he got stuck in a pocket when he shouldn't have, and when it wasn't. Well, it wasn't. When I say he shouldn't have, it was just the way the race went. But he's got everything going for him, and especially if it rains, I think he does like a bit of cut in the ground. I know he's got form here on good to firm ground against Stratton, but it was pouring down with rain that day, especially in that race. So I think he'd like a little bit of rain. So if that comes, that will help him. I just slightly preferred the horse that finished in front of him at Chester, Law of the Sea, for Ian Williams. He was really unlucky in the Chester Cup. You go back and watch that. I'm not sure. I think he probably should have won, actually. I thought he was really unlucky. He just got stopped in his run nearly the whole way round, never got out. When he got out, he sort of came home hands and heels to finish 4th. He got caught out in a slowly run race at Haydock last time. Haydock's the best track in the country for front runners, and Polydor was brilliant on Solent Gateway, got away from them. He finished off strongly, 2.5 miles round. Ascot is going to suit him perfectly. The fast ground or the soft ground won't bother him. And Ian Williams is my man in this race. I think he won it twice in the last 3 or 4 years with Rashun and the Grand Vizier. He's mustered in these big handicaps. I just thought, not ideally drawn, but I'm not worried about that. People bang on about the draw in this race. Plenty of time for these horses to get in a good slot, and as we've seen time and time again around the round course at Ascot, I sometimes want to be finishing up the outside because they're all getting each other's way on the inner. So while Bring on the Night has a very good chance, I will point out that while Coltrane was in the race, and obviously he had no chance of beating him at the weights, there were some horses that have run lots of times since not far behind him. So my reading of it is that Coltrane is just a different horse now than he was then, rather than it points out that Bring on the Night is incredibly well handicapped. I don't think he's got the I don't think he's as good a thing as David Jennings might suggest he is. So I think there's plenty in there against him. Keels make a perfectly reasonable case for Calling the Wind. I personally go for Law of the Sea.
Okay, there you go. Quite a few opinions. We're all on the Chester Cup form at the very least, David. Are you with us?
I am. The horse that finished second in the Chester Cup, Zoffy.
Of course.
Trained by Hugo Palmer. Hugo got 2 good chances in this. Zoffy's got form on quicker ground as well as on softer as it was at Chester, so no ground concerns there. And I mentioned the other Ian Williams runner, Zinc White. As Tom says, Ian does very well in these races. Never run on anything as quick as it currently is, but if he does act on it, he could be another one. So yeah, they'd be the two for me. That Chester Cup form does look all important. Okay.
So we're singing pretty much from the same hymn sheet then in the Ascot Stakes. So you've got 2 more races to cover. A race that was a handicap but isn't anymore in the shape of the Wolferton. Up next, over 10 furlongs, we've got a big field here, and another Frankie move in the shape of Saga at 7-2. Francesco Clemente is 9-2. Buckaroo is 11-2. Bolshoi Ballet 13-2. King of Conquest 7-1. Cadillac is 9-1. Solidstone 11s, and Poker Face is at 12-1. But the Frankie market movers are well out in force here with Saga, Tom, who Mr. Gosden was pretty critical of Frankie's ride on him last year. There is a possibility that this horse is a few sandwiches short of a picnic, though.
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with him. I just think he's unlucky. I think he's been unlucky at both times in the race at Newmarket behind. That's worked out well. King of Conquest and the Britannia last year. I just think it's one of those horses, hold-up horse that needs to come late. I personally would have much preferred him in the Royal Hunt Cup. It's a totally different kettle of fish. Listed race against horses that are running much higher level than he has over a trip he's never run off. I think 7-2 is a crazy price. He wouldn't be on the top of my John Gosden list, let alone on the top of this list. I think Gosden's got a better chance with Francesco Clemente. He's got the first time cheek pieces. He ran off the track at Goodwood last time, but he's got a load of potential. But for me, though, there's two that stand out for me. Cadillac, who was impressive at Epsom, showed a good turn of foot and was a high class horse when trained by Jessica Harrington. Looks like George Bowie's got him back. One I like is the top one, Buckaroo. I like Group 1 horses running in listed races. And I think Buckaroo's a Group 1 horse. He was only beaten about half a length by Anmat in the pre-Dispahan last time. If you watch the race back, thought he should have won it. He went for home too soon on soft ground. He went past a few, and then they battled back past him. I think he'll be held up later. And I think the most important thing about him, that while he acts on soft ground, and this is why I hope there's not those thunderstorms, I think he'll take off on fast ground. He's never had it. It's Fastnet Crown out of a Galileo mare. All his family love fast ground. If the ground stays fast, I think he's gonna take off on fast ground. So I think Buckaroo is one of the better bets of the day. Actually, I know he's got a penalty for winning a Group 3, I think it was, but it's only £3. I think he's £3 better than these, with the potential, with the possible exception of Francesco Clemente, because we just don't know how good he is. But for me, at the prices, I'll go for Buckaroo.
Okay, Buckaroo it is then for Tom at 11-2. Personally, I'm more of a mousetrap or a screwball scramble man, but I understand. But the other horse that Tom fancied, you quite like the look of.
I loved Buckaroo.
Hold on a minute, Neil. Screwball scramble? What is that?
You're too old for screwball scramble, Tom, honestly. Oh, I mean, the hours I spent playing screwball scramble as a kid, I tell you. Oh, it's hours wasted, admittedly, but still, it was great. Get on eBay, Tom. Get yourself one of them. You fancy Francesco Clemente?
Yeah, big time. I mean, I liked his chances before the jockey bookings, and I liked him even more because the bookmakers made the idiotic decision to swap them round in the prices. I mean, surely Frankie's only riding Sago because he's owned by the King. I mean, he's 1 from 10. His one sole win came out was a 2-5 in a maiden. He's been chinned at 2-1 or shorter 3 times last season. Never ran over the trip. He's officially the second worst horse in the race, and he's faff. Absolutely bonkers. Won't be faff tomorrow. Francesco Clemente or Buckaroo? Well, I think Francesco Clemente should be. He gets the £3. He's officially rated the same as Buckaroo. What he did last time, I think he was just too keen, and he just blew that tight bend at Goodwood. But he had no problem running around Sandown last year when he beat Agero. He's in stall 5. Yeah. 7 of the last 10 winners come from 5, 6 or 7. 4 of them from 5, and he's by Dubarry. 25% strike rate, 10 to 12 furlongs at Royal Ascot since 2010. Profits go well over 100%. So many things to like about him. I think he actually shaped like the best horse in the race by miles at Goodwood after finally straightening himself up. And I expect him to win.
Okay. There you go. Strong words again by this Wolferton Stakes. One at slightly bigger price, David, I thought was quite interesting. What price we got? Royal Champion, who looked good on good ground last year. Ran well behind Regal Reality and Grosser Jack and Anmark, then bolted up at Ayr on good ground, and soft ground at Chester wouldn't have suited him, but he'll be ready and raring to go. He's a 25-1 chance with the 4 places each way, but about to take the wind out of Keel's sails by saying, I too fancy Francesco Clemente strongly. Very, very unexposed to 3 from 3 last year. Wouldn't be the first horse to stagger around at Goodwood. Wouldn't be the first person to stagger around at Goodwood. But I think this would be much more up his tree. The only thing I'd say about Saga Kills, he will be favourite if Frankie Dettori's ridden 3 winners by then.
Well, yeah, he probably will be. But Frankie Dettori won't have ridden 3 winners by then. And
no.
Yeah, I just tell everybody, if anyone can get best odds guaranteed still, just wait with those Frankie horses until they kick in.
I mean, look, it is true, and it will be a recurring theme all week. I mean, we are trying to manage a huge amount of liabilities and interest in these horses. The way of doing that clearly is by controlling the price rather than restricting multiples in the first place. So that's why they're all short at the moment. But yeah, I'm really sweet on Francesco Clemente here. Okay, Saga, of course, he'll at least come there cruising, won't he? And but he might well get better as he gets older. He's 7-2 Saga for the Wolferton Stakes. Then Keel's the pick.
Francesco Clemente.
Tom?
Screwball scrap? No, Buckaroo.
Okay. I'll go Royal Champion at a big price. David?
What is Screwball Scramble? I don't know that
Just
one either.
Google it after it. Come round to mine. I'll crack open the beers. We can have a game of Screwball Scramble. Anyway, David, you've got a Frankie price boost as well before we move on to the last.
Yes, we have indeed. We talk about Frankie. He's got 6 good-looking rides tomorrow. Picked up 2 or more winners for Frankie, 6-4 from evens. 2 will be enough, Frankie. That's all you want tomorrow.
Okay, and a couple of votes for Kaplunk and Operation on the chat as well. So fair enough. Board game night next week. And the finale on day 1 of Royal Ascot 2023 is the Copper Horse Handicap, a relatively new addition, but nothing new about the market here, as it's another Mullins and a more horse in a staying handicap. Vauban is 6-4, Ruling Dynasty 5-1. Absurd, you might well say, about some of these prices. Is 6-1, Chillingham 12-1, Point King 12-1, Postileo is 14s with Berkshire Rocco, and Garcia is 22-1. I reckon Calling the Wind and Garcia is an interesting each way double. But what do you make of this Vauban, Keels? You running for the triumph?
Well, one of those 60. I was on him for the triumph, actually.
Yeah.
Unusual for me to back a winner at Cheltenham these days. It
was 18 months ago.
But yeah, I mean, he's a 160 rated hurdler. He'll appreciate every drop of rain that falls. I think he's never been on fast ground, even on the flat. And, he could be absolutely lobbed in. There's talk of, E-Boy favourite at the moment, Melbourne Cup, etc. He could bolt up, but again, he's 6-4 in a 19-runner race on the round track at Ascot, and I can't do that. So I've had a couple of quid each way on Point King of Joseph O'Brien's. I think he just shaped really, really well when second in that Leopardstown Group 3 last month. They went a slow gallop. He got a little bit outpaced. I think he might actually be very, very well suited to a strong place. I mean, he almost doubled in price when I first fancied him. So I've got to stick with him. He's doubled in price, obviously, because of the strength behind Vauban, who could, reach silly territory because he's, if he gets much shorter than 6-4.
Okay, there you go. A couple of horses have been quite well back. A couple of interesting. Chillingham's been very well back for a yard I very much like. And he should be better on faster ground, if anything. Tom, and Postileo as well for a yard who won this before. Thought those two were interesting. What did you like for the finale?
Really hard. Willie Mullins, he's frustrating, isn't he? He drives me mad. We've got a good race like this. And where do you start? If you back Vauban, he gets hampered 75 times, and you think that was the biggest price in the world, the winner, and it should have been on that. And if you don't back him, he goes and dots up by 5 lengths. So I don't know. Stones in the hand, isn't he? But like Keels, you can't back horses like that 5-4 at Royal Ascot. So the other one, Absurd, I think it's got plenty to find, but he obviously won his maiden hurdle too. Ruling Dynasty, wasn't that keen on him. So yeah, I like Chillingham by Ulysses. Slightly concerned about the trip for him. Looked like he'd get it last time the way he finished off, but on pedigree, it's sort of up in the air a little bit. Postileo could go well. The one I liked maybe at a big price was Berkshire Rocco, who was second in the Ledger, wasn't he? Hasn't had fast ground too many times since then. Been in good form on the all-weather over the winter. A little bit disappointing last time. Never really got the run of the race. But if it stayed quick, I think Berkshire Rocco, who's dropped down, I think first time ever he's been below 100, apart from when he won his maiden or something like that. But he's back in his grade off a good mark. And on old form, he's got a good chance. So maybe at a price, Berkshire Rocco.
Okay, there you go. Berkshire Rocco's a 4-1 shot. Quick word on Chillingham. He's from the family of Profound Beauty. Tom, who won multiple mile and 6 races. I thought he'd actually improve for the trip.
He could do. Definitely could do. I mean, I just have Ulysses down as sort of being 10 furlong horses. Obviously, there's going to be loads of exceptions to those rules. But that was my only doubt about him. But, as you say, Edward Bethel is upwardly mobile. And he would probably have targeted in this race. He's definitely an interesting horse, Chillingham, going forward, whatever.
Okay, there you go. Wrap us up then, David, with the Copper Horse before we get the naps, and then we all go to bed and try and sleep before day 1.
5 places each way in this finale. Postileo, for me, relatively lightly raced for a 6-year-old. Should get the trip okay. Should be okay with quick ground. Won't mind if there's any cut in it. For a trainer who's won it before, that'll do for me.
Yeah, and won it from the widest draw on that occasion as well. So, last selection of the day on day 1.
Last selection of the day is Point King.
Okay, lovely stuff. I'll go with Chillingham and Postileo. Tom?
When he was second in the Ledger, he had Pile Driver, Subjectivist, and Hookham behind him. So he's anywhere near that level, which he clearly isn't, because he's when it's not been running that same sort of form since, it would be Berkshire Rocco for me.
Lovely stuff. And David?
Postillo each way.
Okay, naps to come after this. Right, Royal Ascot then on the way tomorrow, and we've got 5 days. Let's hope we can get a nap each at a decent price at least throughout the week. Not on day one, but the lucky 15 would be nice. But let's start off with the first nap of the week, Keels.
Yeah, toss up between Highfield Princess and Francesco Clementi, and given the bigger price, I go for Francesco Clementi in the Wolferton.
Okay, Tom?
Well, I was going to go for the board game, Buckaroo, but Keels has spoiled that now, so I will go for Law of the Sea in the Ascot Stakes.
Okay, and over to you, David.
I will go for Highfield Princess, as Keels very kindly left to me. And also, just a shout out, we've got our Racing Super Series free-to-play game every day. Win a share of, or indeed all of, 25 grand. And it could be a massive week for the Coral Racing Club. We could have 4 runners from Wednesday through to Saturday. Sadly, none at the Royal Meeting, but Worcester, Musselburgh, Chelmsford, Lingfield, what's not to love?
I don't have an answer to that, David, quite frankly. And as for the nap, he probably won't win, but calling the win's got to be in the frame. So he's the each-way nap on day one of Royal Ascot. But gamble responsibly. It's a long goal week, of course. Enjoy the racing, and we'll see you back here, same time, 6:30 on Tuesday night.